Turner, Bellinger. The Dodgers have had seemingly irreplaceable players leave in recent years, but none perhaps more integral to the team than this trio, especially when considering who will be tasked with replacing them on this very different look Dodgers ball club. Last year, around this time, I was poring over the Dodgers roster wondering if they were okay with heading into the season as, at least on paper, and for the first time in a few years, only the best team in baseball by a less than overwhelming margin. Meaning, of course, that I did think they were still the preeminent club in the sport, but there were some very serious question marks that they were going to have to answer. They had key players vacating the roster, a slew of injuries, some fallen stars, some aging veterans, and a lack of depth and flexibility relative to other recent Dodgers rosters. To me, it seemed like the death grip they had on the NL West was loosening, especially with the Padres, Giants, and the Diamondbacks on the rise. Looking back now, it's easy to see that I am a complete and utter buffoon. The Dodgers answered all those questions and more by winning a franchise record 111 games. So despite the fact that a lot of similar questions face the club this year, maybe we should just give them the benefit of the doubt, pencil them in for 100 wins and say, go blue. They've proven time and time again they can lose seemingly irreplaceable pieces and yet make up that value somewhere on the roster by, for example, signing Tyler Anderson to a one-year deal and turning him into an all-star. Now, they've made a couple value plays this offseason as well, but they didn't play in the bonkers shortstop free agent market despite that feeling like an inevitability. I think to a lot of people, the Dodgers offseason has been confusing, as it was hung up on the Trevor Bauer situation, while the ownership group seemed unwilling to cross the CBT threshold for a third consecutive year. The thing is, the Dodgers aren't under the luxury tax. They're on the hook to pay Trevor Bauer, and the trade for Miguel Rojas, which seems brilliant now in the wake of the Lux news, actually put them back over the first tax threshold even after restructuring the deal. And even since that pact, the trade for Rojas, they've added David Peralta, Jimmy Nelson, and Alex Reyes. Now, if they really wanted to get under the threshold, they could still trade a player or two to get under that first tier, but it'd be hard to improve the current team by doing so. I think the most obvious takeaway is that the Guggenheim Group wanted to stay away from more multi-year deals. See how they let JT walk and pivoted to JD Martinez. All this to really bolster the theory that they'll make a big push for Shohei Ohtani next season. And I think it's a viable and winning approach, especially when considering the glut of talent the Dodgers have that is bottlenecked at the top of their farm system. But it also feels conservative, especially after the Freeman signing and with the emergence of Steve Cohen and Peter Seidman. As a Dodgers fan, it's easy to have a sense of entitlement, and it's easy to chastise the team for not going out and spending like Steve Cohen. Although, to that point, who knows what problems that will create for Cohen a few years down the road with regards to roster construction, and I'm also sure we'll see the other owners try to implement a salary cap now, something there's already been whisperings of. But back to this current iteration of the Dodgers. They're set to lose a lot of talent yet again, with Trey Turner, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Tyler Anderson, Andrew Heaney, Chris Martin, Craig Kimbrell, Tommy Kahnle, and Joey Gallo hitting the free agent market, amongst others. But remember, this is also a team that has, in recent years, watched Kenley Jansen, Corey Seager, Jock Peterson, Youngjin Ryu, and Enrique Hernandez leave via free agency without missing a beat. Not to mention the rentals they've let walk, which include names like Scherzer, Darvish, and Machado. But Trey Turner is probably the best player that they've lost, and Justin Turner is probably the most meaningful in terms of clubhouse impact. So this blow, as I said at the top, feels bigger than it is. Even Bellinger, whose downturn in production has been unprecedented, feels like a key player as far as the identity of the Dodgers go. But this is a business, and we've all had our chance to mourn these players, and it's time to take a look at how the Dodgers are addressing their losses in the free agent market to continue to put a winning product on the field. Here is a credit and debit sheet of sorts regarding the Major League talent of the Dodgers roster, first with the 2022 WAR totals and then with my 2023 projected WAR totals. And I know WAR is not for everyone, and I will include more stats when I do my position by position breakdown videos coming out later this week. So no matter how you slice it, there's about a 9 to 11 win difference in terms of incoming versus outgoing talent. Though even with that being the case, the Dodgers don't need to make up all of those wins, because rarely is 111 wins a requirement to win a division or make the playoffs for that matter. Now, of course, I think the Padres have certainly pushed up the amount of wins it will take to win the division, and on paper, the Padres appear to be near to the Dodgers equal, if not near equal, though they don't come out without their warts. All of their top-end talent needs to stay healthy and or avoid a ringworm. And their starting rotation has some serious question marks after the top 3-4. But because of the Dodgers' relatively quiet offseason, I think there is a sense that the Dodgers are okay with relinquishing the division and instead just playing for a playoff spot. The thing is, the Dodgers absolutely eviscerated the Padres last year by a margin of 22 games. meaning the Dodgers could probably lose 14 to 15 wins off last year's total and still take the division, which leaves them with a crazy cushion. So where does that leave us? And what does that mean they need after accounting for the major league inbound and outbound production? Where were they going to find these extra wins they'll need to make up to push themselves over the Padres? In theory, some of these wins will come in the form of healthier players. Dustin May is expected to have a big bump in innings in 2023. Chris Taylor should be healthier than he was last year. And Max Muncy showed that the elbow injury that plagued him through July of last year, well, he kind of put that fully behind him with his very Max Muncy-ish 247, 358, 500 line from August through the end of 2022. The Dodgers will also try to Tyler Anderson, Noah Syndergaard, and to a lesser extent Shelby Miller, while betting on a bounce back from JD Martinez. But that's maybe a fraction of the value, and that's before factoring in some regression by the likes of Trace Thompson and James Outman, and before considering what type of effect the restricted shift rules will have on the defense, and in turn, the pitching, the run suppression unit in general. So that leaves the Dodgers' typically fantastic development system. Earlier I spoke about the glut of talent that is bottlenecked at the top of the minor leagues, and I think this is really a year where they try to find out what they have in some of their prospects. Now the narrative out of Dodgers camp is that second base is Miguel Vargas' job to lose. The infield depth took a hit with Lux going down for the year, and that puts a little more pressure on how well Vargas will need to perform. There's still insurance, of course, and if Vargas fails to produce at a league average level, Chris Taylor will likely have to slide in from his larger role in the outfield, weakening an already dicey situation where Trace Thompson and James Outman are projected to have an oversized role, which is not exactly who you imagine patrolling the outfield grass when you picture the Dodgers. Alternatively, we may get to see Michael Busch get some reps in the infield, a guy who's really done nothing but hit at each stop in his minor league career. Which goes to show, with all this insurance, the Dodgers aren't without their depth. It's just different than other recent years because the depth this year is a little more unproven. On the pitching side, I don't think we'll see Walker Buehler back this year. And with 3 of the top 5 rotation arms belonging to guys we can typically expect to miss a decent chunk of time each year, Kershaw, Gosselin, and Syndergaard, it wouldn't surprise me to see 200 plus innings accrued from Ryan Pepiot, Michael Grove, Bobby Miller, and Andre Jackson. So I expect the Dodgers to pick and choose those matchups very carefully in order to put those guys in positions to win. I think this Dodgers club has a pretty wide variance with regards to wins and losses compared to the last few years. I've got them in the range of 87 to 104 with about a 50th percentile projection of 94.5, but that doesn't account for any in-season acquisitions they may make, so the 96.5 Las Vegas over-under line looks really smart. So in summation, this was just a brief overview of the Dodgers roster. And now I'm going to release a series of videos breaking down the roster position by position, so make sure to subscribe for that. You won't want to miss the in-depth looks I've got there. And go ahead and let me know in the comments how you felt about the Dodgers season coming into this video, how you're feeling leaving, what are your thoughts on the Dodgers in general this year. It's going to be a tight, exciting race. I'm pumped. I'm just as pumped as you. Go Blue.